AngelsWin.com podcast featuring Geoff Stoddard and AngelsWin.com founder Chuck Richter. And now, here's Geoff Stoddard.
Good evening, Angels fans. Good evening, my friend Chuck. How are you doing tonight?
Good to see you. We missed you on the last one. Good to be back with you, Geoff. Drinking out of my new Angels wine glass. I guess we're both drinking wine tonight.
Yeah, I'm drinking wine out of a whiskey tumbler, but I got this for my birthday from my sister. And
nice. My daughter got this for me for Christmas.
Yeah, it's a whiskey glass, but turns out it holds wine too. So cheers to you.
It works. Cheers.
Well, welcome everyone to episode 30. And they said we would never last. They said we wouldn't make it this far. We're into the 30s.
Indeed.
Kind of cool. Yeah. Sorry I wasn't able to make it to the last episode. Let's see, just Chuck and I tonight. We're going to be talking about a couple of things, but mostly what we're going to be doing, and we'll do these throughout the season, is kind of reminiscing on AngelsWin as a website, as a fan base, as a community, and talk about some of the different things that have happened with the site over the last 20 years. And this weekend, Chuck is going to be hosting an AngelsWin Spring Training Fanfest in Tempe, Arizona at Twin Peaks Brewery at 5 p.m. Arizona time. And I think that is right after daylight savings. So check your clocks isn't daylight savings this weekend?
Well, if it is, then that would be the following day, Sunday, right? Usually.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Yeah. So you will lose an hour, but you're probably going to lose more than 1 hour if you go to the party. So, plus I don't think that Arizona goes back and forth. So if you're there in town,
right,
you'll be fine-ish. Let's see. Any other details on that you wanted to share? I think I got all those.
So some folks have been asking about who the special guest is of the Angels. We don't know yet. I don't even know yet. And that's the way it's always been. And Geoff, you know this. We were on
Indeed,
Pins
I
and
do.
Needles. Remember, we were on Pins and Needles for the 2012 Fanfest. We rented out a ballroom.
Yep.
We had 100 and some odd people that night. And, Tim Mead, our good friend, we had him on the podcast, VP of the Angels of Communications, retired after I think it was 1 year or 2 years as president of the Baseball Hall of Fame.
I think it was a 1.5 or 2.
Yeah.
It was a couple, I think.
Yeah. But 40 years with the franchise, which the organization, which is amazing. Who can say that they've been work for a company for 40 years?
Start off as an intern, I think.
Marketing intern.
Worked his way up to... Yeah. He was the walking encyclopedia in the building.
That's what of the Angels. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, he was an Angels historian and baseball historian and rock and roll guru as well.
Right.
Which we found out.
Right. And good friend of ours.
Yeah, a good friend. But we didn't know that. I think it was the day of. And then we still didn't know who the special guest was. And Tim Mead called me and he says, hey, we got Artie Moreno. That's going to come speak at your event tonight. And that's when everybody loved Artie Moreno. Remember, he lowered beer prices. He just got us Albert Pujols,
right?
TJ Wilson.
And that was good news back then.
It was good news back then.
Yeah.
At the time, I mean, it almost blew our website up. Do you remember that? I do. There was a thread. Albert Pujols signs with the Angels, and I think it was like 100 pages long, 50 posts per page. Do the math. I mean, it was crazy. And so we'll share other memories of the FanFest throughout this podcast and others, but just a wild day. And we were all just, when we found out, remember that, Geoff? We're like, you got to be kidding me.
I remember.
Yeah.
I remember. Okay. Well, you know what? We're talking about it. We're into it. So we'll start off with this one and then we'll hop around and come back to things. So this is what I remember of that was we were at the ballpark. There was a game that day and most everybody went.
Yeah.
And I get a text from you saying, "Where are you?" And I said, "I'm, in my seats watching the game." You're like, "Meet me up at some concession stand. It's urgent. Big news." So I go running up there to see you. And you're like, "We've got Artie Moreno tonight. He's coming to the event." And I'm like, "No way." And you're like, "And you're interviewing him." I went, I am? I'm going to do that?
Didn't we? I can't remember. We had to scramble, right? And get together later in the afternoon.
Yes.
And actually put questions together.
Yes. We got what was then kind of the brain trust of AngelsWin that did a lot of that.
Brian,
so we had
I think it was
David
Eric,
Salzer. David Salzer got like right. I mean, that was just David's sweet spot.
It was in his wheelhouse. Yeah.
Yeah. He had, and I think that David handed me like 2 or 3 pages of questions front and back. And he's like going, "Okay, now you need to go through." And I'm looking at these going, "David, I'm never, ever going to get through." We're maybe going to get 2 to 4 questions in with this guy.
I remember that.
It's the owner of the Angel. He's going to drop in. He's going to say hello, shake some hands, kiss some babies, and he's out. That's what we were thinking we were getting.
Yeah.
And he ended up staying for well over an hour.
Yeah.
He took questions from me because I had questions of my own. You had some questions. I went through a bunch of David's questions. And then at some point, Artie goes, "Well, is there anybody out there that would like to ask me some questions?" Because I'm just, peppering it with questions.
Q&A. Yeah.
And he did Q&A with the 100+ people that were there. And
you remember front and center, Geoff, was Cole Calhoun, Jerome Williams, Mike Piazza, who was Mike Trout's roommate.
Yep.
Who else was it? There was a couple other guys too.
Yes, and he had a lot of his leadership team there as well.
Right.
Yeah. And he brought everybody up.
Carpino
was there.
And then Carpino's wife, Artie Moreno's wife.
And they're all kind of standing at the back of the room, and he's like, "You guys all come up here." And he calls all of them up, his own wife, and they're just up there, and they're interacting with the fans and answering questions and being beyond engaging. And that was, I knew that we would obviously talk about this, this fair, because that was like the fan fest.
Right.
I mean, we had a bunch of other good ones where we had, Tim Salmon and some other folks.
Don Baylor.
Right. But
the Jerry DiPoto ones were great too. Let's face it.
It was. I mean, we can look at that with revisionist history now, but he was a good dude and he was totally open to interacting with us.
That was in his wheelhouse. He loves to speak. He's a great speaker. Let's face it. And he would even take questions from the crowd as well.
Right.
So, Cole Calhoun was a speaker one year. Don Baylor, you interviewed Don Baylor as well.
I did.
Remember that?
Yeah.
We'll get into all those, but for all the new Angels fans over the last, let's say, 10 or so years, and you're all on the I hate Artie Moreno bandwagon.
Yes.
Geoff and I aren't the best of fans of his moves over the years, or lack of thereof. But you have to understand, at the time of which Artie Moreno came and spoke at our event, I mean, I can't think of a more beloved owner of any sports team at that time. Okay?
No.
Everybody loved him for signing Vlad over the years, Torrey Hunter, all these guys, all the successful run that the Angels had. from 2004 when he bought the team, or before he bought the team, but 2004 all the way through 2009, right?
Yeah.
And so and then we got,
and the team was
Pujols.
Successful.
They were successful.
That run. I mean, we were winning the AL West.
Yeah.
Marty
was very approachable. Remember, he was always seen walking around the stadium. Yeah.
He would sit down in front, kind of right behind home plate, going to the first base side in Tempe at spring training.
Right.
Fans would come up to him between innings. He would sign autographs. He would take pictures. He was very present and there. And there was a time where everybody loved it and everybody loved him. And he was doing all the things that the fans were asking for.
Right. Yeah.
Now, a lot of those things blew up.
Right.
But that's with hindsight, right? I mean, we can look at the Albert Pujols contract, 12 years after it was signed,
right,
and say, "Oh, that was a rough stretch."
Right.
But when it first happened, oh my God.
Yeah, there's no doubt. So, I wanted to make sure that our listeners understand that it was a big get at the time.
Oh,
and
huge
if you're a fan of the team in just recent years, you're not going to understand that. You're going to see Artie as the devil.
Right.
All you think of when you think of the Angels is sell the team. That's all you see. Hashtag. It's like, but I mean, at the time, I mean, he was regarded as one of the best. And actually, come to think of it, Geoff, I mean, you think about how he was so beloved then. Can you think of another owner that was more beloved in the last couple decades? Maybe the Padres owner just passed. I know that a lot of the Padres fans really liked him.
Rockies fans will tell you it's not the Mumfords. They're not in the equation. I mean, from a baseball standpoint, no. I can't think of another owner within baseball that was as beloved as he was, because he was doing all the things. He was dropping beer prices. He was improving the stadium. He was signing all of the big free agents that the fan base was hoping he would sign. Yeah. We were winning and continuing to win. And it just felt like it was going to last forever.
Yeah. Yep. And here we are.
And here we are going into the Spring Training 2024 Fanfest. Again, it's this weekend in Tempe at Twin Peaks Brewery, 5:00 Arizona time. If you're around, come hang out. Yeah. Come join us. If you're in Southern California, it's only 4-hour drive or so. Come on out.
I think it's 6. Yeah.
All right. Well, come on out anyway.
If I'm being honest, it's a shitty drive. It is, bro.
Way to sell it, buddy.
No, I mean, I'm just saying. The worst part about it is you get there and you're like, oh God, we finally fucking got here, right? And then you're like, yeah, spring training, baby. And then you have some beers over the weekend. You're in the sun. You feel like fucking dying. And then you're like, oh shit, now I got to drive 8 hours home because you're also stuck in traffic if you leave on Sunday. Yeah, it's a shit drive.
All right. Well, we're into this thing. So why don't we keep going? We were gonna start off by talking about how the Angels are doing so far. Maybe we'll end with that, since we're already kind of into the spring training memories.
Yeah.
So let's talk about when the first Spring Training Fanfest started. And I want to say, was it 2006?
It was 2007.
Okay, 2007.
Okay, I actually take that back. 2006, we had something at the Fox Sports Grill in Scottsdale. And it literally was just a round table of about 15 of us. But it was just us being there, having a good time. Lou was at that one. Okay.
Yeah.
And then Yeah. And then, after that, we had a couple more. But then I think our first, and then, gosh, what was the one you were at? I think
So
our first guest
the
was,
first one that I went to must have been was the first one at Hail Mary's.
well, that would have been Terry Smith and Jose Mota.
Correct. And I was there for that one. So that was my first one. Okay, so here's what I remember. Walking in to Hail, I went with my friend. So had just moved to Colorado. 2 little kids, and we drive down and we're meeting our other friends, Mark and Don. They're coming in from Rancho Santa Margarita, and we're going to meet there. We haven't seen each other in quite a while. And I'm like, hey, I'm on this website. I'm kind of part of it. It's called AngelsWin, bunch of Angels fans. After the game today, we should go over to the sports bar. We can have dinner. I'd love to meet these people, and they're going to have, guests. There's going to be, Terry Smith and Jose Mota are going to be there. And we walk in, and I only know everybody by their screen names from the board. So for those of you that haven't been on our website screen, they're kind of like Twitter handles, right? Like very rarely do people use their real names.
Right.
And they very rarely use their actual picture as their, thumbnail or icon or whatever. It's usually, something else. So
remember Adam Dodge's avatars was always some older Asian man with really terrible teeth.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. Sorry, Adam, if that gets you in trouble, but it was classic early days AngelsWin. So I walk. So the only person that I know what they look like is you.
Yeah.
So I walk in, and there's this guy standing there in this white big jacket coat, looking like he just stepped out of a rap video. And I look over, I'm like, I think that's Chuck. I think that's the guy. So I walk over and introduce myself, and that outfit has stuck in my head for 20 years now.
I'm telling you, dude, I don't know what it was in those days, but I honestly got anxiety for what to wear where there's big gatherings. And so I just put the worst absolute wardrobe together and thought, oh, this looks okay. And then you look back at the photos, you're like, what the fuck was I wearing?
What was I thinking? Do I not have any friends?
Am I even an Angels fan? Why am I wearing a white jacket with a white shirt underneath and some nice blue jeans and some white sneakers? And a gold chain. What the heck was I doing?
Why do I look like I just stepped out of an NSYNC video?
Honestly, it's like, I guess I was trying to dress up, and that was my. And then the Artie Moreno thing, I guess it wasn't as bad. But I wore a black, long sleeve, nice dress shirt, nice pants, shoes, and an Angels hat. And I didn't need to wear that Angels hat. I don't know what. Anyway, you just look, and then there was one year I wore a really thick hoodie at one of the things, and it was obviously 90 degrees outside.
Right, because it's Arizona.
Yeah. I've come a long way, Geoff.
I'm looking forward to seeing pictures of what you wear this weekend. I'm sure it'll be.
It's going to be suspenders. I'm in Tennessee now, right?
All right. So that first one at Hail Mary's, we had Terry, we had Jose. Then the next year we had
it was Fizz.
Right. We had Fizz and Rex Hudler.
No. It was
Fizz Rex Hudler the year after.
It was Fizz and Dennis Kuhl.
Okay.
And Victor Rojas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Those are fun looking back at.
Yeah. And then after that, it was Rex Hudler.
I doubt that Victor will listen to this episode, but in case he does, Victor's one of those jackasses that looks better the older he gets. Like, look, as people had been posting pictures, and there was the picture of a 20 years ago younger Victor Rojas, good looking, handsome guy. The guy is looking better as he gets older, and it's for those of us that don't necessarily do that, which I include myself in. It's incredibly annoying how he's kind of Benjamin buttoning this thing. But
hey, you know what though? I will say you do not look your age, and I sure as shit don't look my age. So
yeah, we look good for 47-ish.
Allegedly.
Can't believe we were only 22 when we started this website.
Yeah.
All right. So then the year after that was Rex Hudler, and I think that was the last year at Hail Marys.
Yeah.
That's when it got to the point where we're like, okay, we're getting
too big year when we had, I think it was, actually, no, it's reverse. So it was Rex Hudler, and then it was Dennis Kuhl, Victor Rojas, Bill Plunkett, member of the OC Register at the time.
Yep.
And that's when we did all those interviews. Remember those funny interviews? Yeah.
Yes.
Who else was there? Yeah. And so, yeah, man, it's just crazy. It's just looking at that, Hail Marys was fun though. Let's face it. It was a lot of fun.
It was a fun little place.
Yeah.
It's not Hail Marys anymore. I think it's still there. I forget what it's called now.
Yeah, I know the owner changed the name. I think he's he's from Cleveland and a big Browns fan. I think he changed it to something Cleveland Browns something, I don't know. But yep, but Fort Peaks Brewery it's going to be kind of on the same scale because all of those crowds that we had were around 50, 60. I think the last one we did was 75, and we were jam packed. And I think that's the year you were there for that year.
I was there.
It was jam packed.
Yeah, that was the year that I interviewed Don Baylor. And
No. I'm talking about Hail Marys.
Oh, at Hail Marys. Okay, yeah.
When it was pushing like 70, 75,
right.
we knew that we outgrew the venue.
Yes. Yeah. So then after we graduated from Hail Marys, we went. That next event was where we were selling tickets. Yes. And it was like it became a sit down banquet kind of a thing
with speakers and raffle surprises and
the
whole media roundtable. Photo ops with every one of the guests. It was something else, and a lot of fun with a whole lot of good memories, but a royal pain in the ass. It was a lot to put together.
Oh my God, that was so much to try to coordinate year after year.
Yeah, it was. But thankfully during those days, Geoff, we had yourself, we had Eric, and Eric is the one that worked with the folks to get the dinner stuff and all that, get the menu created and get the bar and all that for the night. Brian did all the tickets. He did the
tickets. He did the signage and
And remember, everybody that got a ticket got a folder. Remember that?
Yeah.
And inside the folder had like the itinerary of the night's events. I mean, it was really well done. We're talking top notch, well done.
Yes.
Brian Ilton, if you're out there, you did a hell of a job. I'll see him on Thursday. So,
there you go.
Yeah, and then Bruce was great. He was an MC too for many of the events.
Yeah.
And just having his wisdom, as somebody that used to, go up and work with the folks in the Oscars. Remember, he worked with the Oscars for so many years.
Yeah,
so we had Bruce.
Right.
I think that he was in his 70s, but he was still spry in those days. And then we had Stradling helped out. Mancini. He's a guy I haven't seen in a while. Nick Mancini.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, Cassie and, she helped out a little bit here and there.
Yeah. It was it was a fun time, but it was so much work. But we had such a high. And it got to a point, though, where then every year we felt like we had to one up the year before.
Right.
And that's where it started getting exhausting.
That's where you felt the burnout.
Yes.
And then you also, I felt bad because I think Tim Mead also thought, well, we had Tim Salmon last year and Jerry DePoto and Don Baylor, Cole Calhoun, Hector Santiago. What are we going to do this year? Mike Trout,
Right.
And so it just got to that point. I think the last one where I did with the guest was I did it solo. I think you remember this is back in 2018. And Tim Mead got me Wally Joyner, and that was kick ass.
Yeah.
And it was at kind of a venue, kind of like Hail Mary's, a little bit bigger. We had about 70 people. It was a buffet style. We had tickets.
Right.
I did it all myself. Actually, I had Barbara Peachy. Her dad was my PE teacher at Arlington High School in Riverside, California. She was a big help, really big help, and a few other folks. But yeah, it was great, dude. Tim Mead was there, and it was me, Tim Mead, and Wally Joyner standing at the front. And then, Tim Mead gave his speech that he always does, which is always amazing, which we got to enjoy. And I think on another segment, another podcast, we can talk about the Sundays. Because let's face it, those Sundays were kick ass and also hilarious.
See, I thought we were going to slip into those because those are so for those listening, big, massive party on Saturday for the event. Everybody is drinking at the game during the day, sitting out in the sun. Then we go to the event and we have the Fanfest. There's a bar there. People are drinking. Then there's the after party. People are drinking. And then Sunday morning, Tim would always invite us to get into the ballpark early as they were setting up and then taking batting practice. So before it was even open to the public, we would all go sit down on the first base side. He would stand up on the dugout and give what we, came to be called our, the state of the team address that he would do every year.
Tim Mead's dugout talk.
Yeah. And he would talk for, 20 or so minutes, just unpacking the season before, the off season, what was going on in spring training, and what the vision and plans were going ahead. And then it was open forum questions where people could just ask Tim anything they wanted, and he would take questions from them. And we were all so hungover. I mean, we were sunburnt, we were hungover, we were dehydrated, and yet we were enthralled because listening to Tim talk was like, this is great. And then often he would be done and wrap up, and there would be like 2 or 3 hours before the game. Everybody would bolt back to the hotel, get into their air conditioning hotel room, collapse on their bed, and take a nap before first pitch.
Or a lot of us, and I don't know if you ever joined us for this, Geoff, we went to Enchiladas in Tempe, and we had a brunch, and that's where the Bloody Marys were flowing.
Yes. Okay. I did not do those. I did not do those. So this was always a family trip for me. So I had, family, 3 little boys for the time. In fact, I had told Chuck earlier today that my oldest son goes to school in Phoenix. So if he doesn't work, he's going to try to get over to Twin Peaks on Saturday for the event. And I think the last time that Chuck saw Griffin was maybe 13, and he turns 22 next month and graduates college and is very much looking forward to having you buy him a beer.
Good. 6'3". I mean,
yeah,
he was
6'3" ish. Yeah,
he's a little kid. The last time I seen him, jeez. Man.
Crazy.
Yeah, those Sundays were amazing. In fact, I heard that, despite the event, which was amazing. I mean, it was a great production. I mean, but the Sunday was what everybody looked forward to, because just to set the setting here, Tim Mead would stand on the Angels dugout, and everybody would be sitting in the stands facing him while the Angels are taking BP or taking grounders behind Tim Mead, who's standing on the dugout.
Right.
And it was just surreal.
Yeah.
And there's no way there's no other way. And, Tim Mead is one of the best speakers in the game of baseball, period.
Yes.
Period. He doesn't ever have to rehearse, read off anything. I mean, he can just spit out,
no
history
notes,
and
just
state
all
of
off the top of his head.
Yeah. It just blows me away. And that was something to look forward to. And what a way to cap off that weekend that we would always put together.
Yeah. Such a great time.
Unfortunately, no more Tim Mead with the Angels, but like everything, Geoff, not all good things are forever, right? And it was a good run. And like you said, it was exhausting, and it was a lot of work.
It was a lot of work.
And just like my river float parties in Washington, I capped it at the 10-year mark as well. It was a lot of work also.
I think the way that it's being done now is the right way to go. I think that, there was a time, there was that window of, I don't know what it was, 7 to 10 years of us doing it, where we were really fulfilling that need for the team. Right. Because the Angels organization, the Angels are one of only a very few number of teams in Major League Baseball that don't do a fan fest.
Right.
So we were kind of covering that for them.
Yeah.
And in fact, we had somebody from Forbes magazine reach out to us. They were doing a story on baseball fan fests. And
I remember that.
I remember doing the interview with this person, and it was probably, gosh, I don't know. We talked for.
Do you still have the link to that?
I think I do. Yeah.
Try to find that and send it to me. I'd like to see that. Yeah, I remember that.
But we talked for a good half hour to 45 minutes. And I think when the article came out, there was like 2 lines of a quote from me, and that was it. Like, that's what you peeled out of 45 minutes was just that?
Jeez Louise.
Hey, we were in Forbes. So
yeah, that's right.
There you go. Well, let's see. The Angels just completed their shutout of the Dodgers. Oh, nice.
It was a shutout.
4-0.
I turned it off when it was 4-0 right before this podcast.
Yep.
I knew we were going to kick their asses. So
ended at 4-0. So the Dodgers, obviously billion dollar franchise and payroll, struggling to make things happen on the field against the mighty Angels from Orange County.
Ron Washington's Angels could be a force to be reckoned with. I'm just saying.
All right, so let's shift into baseball a little bit.
We could talk all night and for hours about all the past, and we'll cover some good stories of some of the members on our website and fans' stories throughout the year.
Yeah, we'll do these memories podcasts all season to celebrate 20 years of Angels win. But Chuck, Angels right now, I think they're now 8-4 or 8-3. I think
they're 8-3
after this win. Initial thoughts. What are you thinking about the team? What are you thinking about the skipper? How is this? What's
not to feel
kind of froggy about this thing?
Dude, I'm excited. I mean, Ron Washington came in and said that he wants to be more aggressive, on the bases. Right now, they have 19 stolen bases. They've been caught 8 times, but they got a better percentage than the Rockies, who have 20, one more stolen base than us. Mm-hmm. They're hitting the ball well. You've probably seen this. There's guys are always, in motion.
Yep.
They're always running, right?
Yep.
So the pitcher's got that in their head that, the Angels are on the move. It don't matter if it's even Logan O'Hoppe or Nolan Schanuel. It doesn't matter. The guys are on the move.
Yeah.
And the Angels got some guys that got some wheels, and we're going to see it. And Mike Trout stole a base tonight, right? And wouldn't that be awesome? I mean, he's quick still, dude.
Love to see him start running again.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always the injury concern with him. I feel like he's been snake bit a little bit the last couple of years, but
yeah,
I think it's more bad luck than anything. It's not for, a lack of preparation or anything. When you get hit on the hand or something in the batter's box, there's no way to train that away.
Right. Another thing what I like this spring, Geoff, is the pitching. And after their shutout tonight, the Angels have the second best team ERA in all of spring training.
Let's fucking
Florida
go.
and Cactus League, 3.23 ERA. And also, I believe they have one of the best walks per innings pitched. So they're throwing strikes. And that was another focus by Barry and Wright, the new pitching coach, is throw fucking strikes.
Right.
Good things are going to happen.
Yeah.
Because you're either going to put the ball in play, no more of this moping around and trying to get a corner and trying to get guys to miss. No, be aggressive on the bases, be aggressive on the damn mound and throw strikes. And you're seeing that.
Yeah.
And I think it's a philosophy, Geoff, that is not just taught, but it's like, if you don't do this, you're off the team. If you don't subscribe to what we're teaching, you're out of here. And Warren Washington said that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in one of the podcasts on another show, he said, listen, if you don't play, you're out of here. If you don't, so I mean,
right.
I don't know. If you don't play, I don't remember what the exact quote was, but I mean, that's Ron Washington. That's his style.
Yeah.
He's one to be, respected, but he's also one to give praise to his players. So he's one of those great mixes of a player's coach or player's manager, and also a disciplinarian.
Yeah.
Also.
Yeah.
And I heard, Victor even shared this on a previous podcast. He's hilarious as well. So you got the comedy relief in the clubhouse and in the dugout too. I couldn't read lips, but did you see when Ohtani, the left-handed guy, gosh, what's his name? Struck out Ohtani. What was his name?
Oh,
Thomas.
Yeah.
So when Thomas, guy pitched an indie ball last year, Angels picked him up and strikes out Ohtani. And when he got back to the dugout, all I saw were all kind of F-bombs flying out of, Ron Washington's mouth in a positive way. Like, motherfucker, you've got that. I'm like, oh, yeah, hell yeah. And I was like, man, that's my manager.
That's right. Yeah, Ohtani, 0 for 3 tonight. Struck out twice. Almost struck out a third time before he popped out.
Yeah.
You love to see it.
Victor Maderos, another guy to keep an eye on. He 3 innings tonight, 1 hit, 5 strikeouts, 0 runs. I mean, he's a guy last year that was kind of, talked about as, hey, keep an eye on this guy. The Angels called him up for a cup of coffee. But really good repertoire. I mean, he's one to keep the Angels. And then they got Soriano that they've moved out of the bullpen into the rotation. He's going to start on Friday, the game I'm going to be at against the Rockies. Excited to see him. They got Daniel Davis and Victor Maderos, who I mentioned. I mean, the depth is really exciting. And what do you think about Miguel Sano?
It feels a lot better than I thought it was going to feel in December, right?
Right.
And part of me wonders, is it is this a spring training sugar high? Is this just, they're going up against guys that are still getting their timing. They're going up against guys that are never going to really sniff the major leagues. Or is it people are buying into what Ron Washington is selling? And they've got a new attitude. They've got a new outlook. They've got, a new swagger to them. And they're coming into the season bought in and ready to go.
Even Mike Trout.
Yes. And there's not this looming shadow of Ohtani in the room that is sucking all of the oxygen and all the attention out of the room. Right. There's not this, there's not this bandwagon of journalists that are following the team around with the intention of only paying attention to one guy. They get to just focus on baseball. Yeah. They get to focus on executing and playing ball and being good. And they don't have to worry about the circus.
Right.
So I'm still in that, okay, well, which is it? Is it somewhere in the middle? But I tell you, Chuck, day after day, I'm being pulled more over to, hey, this could actually be something legitimate.
Right.
And I'm starting to get excited.
And that's where I'm at, Geoff, because of the Ron Washington factor, really.
Yeah.
The players just look hungrier. Is it just me, or do they just look hungry? And I think that just comes from the top.
Right.
If you want to play your ass off for your manager because the manager has your back and wants the best out of you, right? And wants the best for you, then you're going to just lay it out on the field, right? And I think he creates this buzz and this energy, this positive energy in the clubhouse, and these players bring it out on the field. I think there's a winning attitude with this club. And then you got guys like Sano who lost, 58 pounds or something? And he just looks like a guy that wants to resurrect his career. So he's bringing this hungry in.
Had a nice, RBI single between third and short. Made a great play at third base to end the inning, and I think the third or fourth. He looks really.
The other day he came in on a soft grounder, Geoff, playing third base, and he came in, one-handed it to first base, looked like Adrian Beltre, and I was like, this is not the same guy.
Yeah.
So and he came up a third baseman, right? He put on some weight, like we all do, although he was in his 20s, so he probably I look good in my 20s and my 30s. But,
okay, I need to go back because who was the I had a Twitter exchange with they were talking about one of the players that had put on 20 to 25 pounds over the off season. Oh gosh, who was it?
One of the Angels?
Yeah, Shanuel. So,
but that's good weight.
Right. So Erica Weston was interviewing or doing kind of a between inning update, and she was talking about how he had put on 20 to 25 pounds in the off season, and I replied back on Twitter and I said, "Same." and then she goes, "Of muscle." I'm like, whatever. But yeah, guys just feel like they've come in ready. You know, they're ready to go. Yeah. And damn it, Chuck, I didn't want to be excited, and I'm getting excited for this team.
It's spring training, dude. Every year we got to bring a little new optimism into it, but this one feels a little different, Geoff. Every year I'm like saying the same shit. Oh, this is going to be the year. I feel great. But this team,
one feels the right kind of different, though.
Right.
It doesn't feel like saccharin. It doesn't feel like it's a sugar-coated, cereal. this feels like there might be something there.
And I'm not going to compare them to the O2 club, but you remember that club. They would chip away. You know, they would run the bases. They would always guys in motion, always guys, stealing a base and going from first to third and, via the hit and run. And of course, you're going to get your home runs and stuff. And they got some guys that can pop them. But just overall, man, I just really like the team. Now, that said, do I still think that if the price is right, you sign a Blake Snell to be your top of the rotation ace? Because here he is out there and nobody wants to pay him any money and the price and the years are coming down. I mean, I won't be mad if they sign him. Let's just say that. I'm happy with how everybody's doing, but I've always said throughout this whole offseason, Geoff, the team needs an ace, right?
Right
now, they got a bunch of guys, that are number threes on a good day, good number two, but I don't know.
But you brought the team up, so I'll throw it out there. The 2002 team didn't really have an ace.
No.
They had
Jared
a lot
Washburn. Yeah.
They had a lot of guys that would go 5 innings, and then they went to that lockdown bullpen.
Right.
They only needed their starters to get through 4 or 5. And then the bullpen came in, and you were done. Because that bullpen was
Washburn,
magic.
You're right. Ramon Ortiz and Kevin Apier are guys that would struggle to go 6 and 7. Sometimes they would.
Yeah.
Sometimes they'd pitch great. They had good seasons. But Jared Washburn, and then later on when they brought John Lackey up, those two guys could go right. And those two guys were the Ironmen of the rotation. Yeah. So,
but you're right. But rookies, I mean, they were still learning on the job.
Lackey was a rookie. Yeah.
Sure. I mean, and Lackey pitched Game 7 as a rookie.
Crazy.
Wild.
Yeah. And K-Rod was just shutting everybody down.
Right. And he was
a rookie.
He was like a super rookie because they barely. Well, no, I'm thinking of Figgins. Figgins was kind of the super rookie that somehow they were able to weasel into the lineup somehow.
Pinch runner.
Right. I forget how they were able to qualify him for the postseason, but my God, I mean, it was wild what they did. And I feel like the way that Scioscia talked back then and the reverence that he had is similar to what Ron Washington has now. I feel like Scioscia's stuff probably got stale for the team.
It got stale.
But at that time, it was still fresh and new, and they were eating it up, and fans were eating it up, and
right.
You know what? Drawing a parallel to the 2002 team, I'm not mad at it.
We're gonna get scoffed.
Oh,
because I brought it up. But
I'm ready.
I don't give a shit.
I'm ready for it. It's like it may not end up being that, but you can't point to anything right now and tell me it's not.
Right.
So,
yeah. I don't know, dude. I mean, you just look at the stats across the board, and they're looking good. Of course, it's just spring training. I was pleased to see that one of the teams that may have one of the best rotations going into the season, division rival Seattle Mariners, have the worst team ERA, coming in at a hot 7.36 ERA and a 1.64 whip.
You'll love to see it.
Carry it forward through the season, assholes.
Yeah, every year they're the darling pick to make a run at it. And
I got a good friend, Matt, and I got to get him. I want to do a podcast before the season if I have time, from a Houston Astros guy, Seattle Mariner, and that's my friend Matt. Oakland A's and Texas Rangers, just to kind of, we'll get on and we'll just kind of pick their brain, see what they're thinking, feeling about their team, and what they think about the Angels, and just have a chit chat. I think that'd be fun. Yeah,
I like that idea.
But I'm sorry, Matt, if I hurt your feelings, because I know you were a listener, even though you're a Mariners fan. But 1995, I'm sorry, I'm still sore from that year.
That World Series trophy case is still pretty empty.
Yeah, that's true. Do we have any questions in the mailbag? Jeff?
Let's see. We have a couple. I know we're getting late your time, so maybe we'll just do one or two. Let's see. This comes from Joey in Claremont. It says, do you think the lack of big signings this offseason is due to the front office having a lot more interest in next season's availability of free agents like Juan Soto and Corbin Byrne?
Yeah, there's a lot more than that too. It's a better field of quality players next offseason. Yes, and it also could be for it. I believe so, Jeff, and I think also that and Ron Washington, and they're like, hey, let's see what Ron can do with what we have. Okay, and if this team can be competitive and put themselves in a good spot at the trade deadline, maybe they make a trade. And then maybe at the end of the season, because of the success in Ron's first season as manager of the Angels, they're like, okay, we're all in now. I'm buying in because this young nucleus of Ohapi, Neto, Shanuel, Silseth, the guys that we've had and the veterans surrounding them. Let's go. I'm all in. This is a team that's a force to be reckoned with. Yeah. So how do you feel?
Yeah, I think that could be part of it. I think some of it too may be, let's give Ron time to identify what he really has, which is kind of, I think it's maybe the other side of the coin of what you just described of, let's let Ron evaluate the talent and come back to us, on or around the All-Star break and say, this is what I need. Here's my gaps. Here's my needs. I need you to go get this for me. And depending on how the team is doing, where they are in the standings, that's stuff they either look to do mid-season, or if, God forbid they're, it's a dumpster fire and they're not doing well, then they kind of put a pin in that for things that they want to look to do next season. But I think it has more to do with letting Ron evaluate what's in front of him today. And, it could also just be,
Artie's a cheap bastard.
Well, I'll put it another way. I think that maybe Artie is just like, I've been spending all kinds of money on all kinds of players for the last 10 to 12 years. Nothing has been happening.
Right.
I can spend a lot less money and also potentially not make the playoffs. So why would I want to do
and
this other thing?
That's a good point, Jeff. That actually is a really good point, because what if the Angels gave Ohtani $700 million plus, and then he elected to stay with the club?
Yeah.
Does that put them
right?
I mean,
as we were talking about a little while ago, things are bubbling up where you can start making the argument they may be better off as a team without him. Because
no six-man rotation. Yeah. No six-man rotation. You don't got the, prima donna in the clubhouse with all the reporters following him around.
Guys can grow in the sunlight as opposed to having to, linger in the shade of this big character. And
some of the players made some subtle comments.
Yes, they did.
Around that.
Yes, they did.
So it's not just us
on
this podcast saying, it's the players.
Yep.
So.
Yep. All right, let's see what else we got here. Maybe one more.
One more.
Let's see. This is from Scott in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Ann Arbor, Michigan in the house. Very nice.
Wow, nice.
Could we see guys like Tyler Anderson get back into form with the help of Barry Enright?
Well, if the last start is any indication, maybe.
Yeah.
You know, it kind of had this feel that he was kind of nibbling last year, like CJ Wilson used to do. And when he had to come in the zone, he got hammered because he doesn't have swing and miss stuff, right?
Right.
So he's got a great changeup and he's got a usable fastball. And what I saw in his last start is he was hitting. I mean, he was throwing it high in the zone with his fastball. Then he was throwing a changeup where, here it is coming down the middle and then it just hits the bottom of the zone. Right. And then he would throw a fastball again at the top of the zone, even though it's like low 90s, they can't hit it.
Right.
So he's in the zone, right? Mm-hmm. He's not nibbling at the corners, but he's mixing his pitches up. And I think that goes to the philosophy of what the team's trying to do for the pitching staff from Barry Enright in that throw strikes.
Yeah.
Throw strikes,
mm-hmm.
and you're gonna be better off. And so, and hopefully, Geoff, they looked at the tape from his 2022 season with the Dodgers, where he had a sub-3 ERA.
Right.
And they found something.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just hope and pray for that.
Let's hope and pray for that. All right. Yeah. Well, there we go. There's episode 30 of the AngelsWin Podcast, our first 20th anniversary memories episode. Again, there'll be more of these throughout the season. We'll harken back to different times. We'll have. I think we're going to have different board members that we'll probably invite on as well to kind of highlight them, have them talk about how they found AngelsWin. Some of their memories that they've had. So it's going to be a fun season for the team and for the website.
One real quick programming note. Just found out today that Wayne Randazzo, the Angels play-by-play guy, is going to join us next Tuesday on our podcast.
Let's fucking go.
Let's go. I like it. We're going to get his takes on the Angels and what he's seen in camp, and so it'll be badass.
All right. So there's something to look forward to for next week. Again, this Saturday, Tempe, Arizona, Twin Peaks Brewery at 5 p.m. Local time there. Come on out, hang out with some Angels fans, some folks from AngelsWin, and specifically hang out with Chuck Richter. Buy the man a beer. And if my kid's there, you can buy him a beer as well.
Yeah. Let's
All
see,
right.
guys.
For Chuck Richter, I'm Geoff Stoddart. Have a great evening. Good night now.
Thanks for listening to the AngelsWin.com podcast with Chuck Richter and Geoff Stoddart. Until next time, go Halos. Say goodbye.